new law breaking on Wall Street. Either Wall Street bankers have suddenly stopped breaking the law, or Trump enforcers are keeping their eyes deliberately closed. I'm betting.
Ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So President Trump has had more than a year to keep his number one campaign promise to lower costs for American families, and boy, has he failed. Costs are going up across the board. Prices are up for groceries, utilities, healthcare, and the National Association of Home Builders says that thanks to Trump's chaotic tariffs, it costs $11,000 more to build every new house in America. Meanwhile, job growth has slowed to a crawl, and 83,000 people working in manufacturing lost their jobs last year. Ordinary Americans are squeezed hard, but boy, it is a good time to be a Wall Street CEO. Last year, the CEOs of the 6 largest banks together earned more than $250 million in compensation. Those banks paid out more than $140 billion in dividends and buybacks to wealthy shareholders. It is a record. The rich are getting richer, and everyone else struggles. In the Trump economy, it's Wall Street first and American families last. Now, we've seen this story before. We know how it ends. In the great financial crash of 2008, 10 million families lost their homes. The unemployment rate skyrocketed to 10%, and nearly $20 trillion in savings and retirement plans evaporated. Washington helped cause that crash by eliminating common sense guardrails that kept banks safe and focused on serving communities. When the crash hit, Washington bent over backwards to funnel trillions of dollars to bail out Wall Street. Wall Street executives who deserved handcuffs were instead rewarded with golden parachutes. It was brutal capitalism for families on Main Street, socialism for billionaires on Wall Street. The memories of a family being thrown out of its home because of a predatory mortgage, or of a 70-year-old grandmother coming out of retirement to work at Walmart because her pension vanished, did not fade. But Wall Street lobbyists and piles of campaign cash have worked hard to erase them. Now they have their champion in the White House, and he has assembled a team of Wall Street first regulators. Take the Federal Reserve Vice Chair for Supervision, Michelle Bowman. President Trump appointed her to the Fed during his first term. She helped deregulate Silicon Valley Bank and other large banks. And a few years later, those same banks failed, the second, third, and fourth largest bank failures in U.S. history. And was Ms. Bowman held accountable? Nope. President Trump gave her a promotion. Now she and Trump's other regulators are implementing Wall Street's wish list. And at the top of the list, weakening capital rules, including stress testing. Banks love debt. They want to make their bets using other people's money, so depositors and taxpayers are left holding the bag if things blow up. Capital rules require banks to fund loans and investments with some of their own money so that they have skin in the game in those decisions. Strong capital cushions help the economy by reducing the likelihood of financial crashes and taxpayer bailouts. Now, mega banks are drawing down their capital cushions through higher payouts to wealthy executives and shareholders, increasing their risks. Regulators have also rubber-stamped mergers, allowed banks to engage in dangerous crypto activities, rescinded a key rule designed to drive investment in low-income communities, eviscerated fair lending standards, and taken financial cops off the beat, each cutting staff by 15 to 30%. The bank regulators have also terminated enforcement actions against J.P. Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, and Goldman Sachs, while failing to identify new law breaking on Wall Street. Either Wall Street bankers have suddenly stopped breaking the law, or Trump enforcers are keeping their eyes deliberately closed. I'm betting on closed eyes. Warning lights in our overall economy are flashing red. President Trump is bringing the next great financial crisis closer into view, yet his regulators seem determined to serve only Donald Trump and his billionaire buddies. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The moment hung in the air. Wall Street first and American families last. Senator Elizabeth Warren did not whisper it. She did not soften it. She delivered it as an indictment, not just of an administration, but of an economic philosophy. A philosophy, she argues, has defined more than a year of President Trump's economic leadership. She began with a promise made on the campaign trail to lower costs for American families. Instead, she said, prices are rising across the board. Groceries, utilities, healthcare. Even the cost of building a home has climbed, with the National Association of Home Builders estimating that chaotic tariff policies have added $11,000 to the price of constructing a single new house in America. Job growth, she argued, has slowed. Manufacturing positions have disappeared, and ordinary families feel the pressure tightening. But while families count dollars at the kitchen table, Warren painted a very different picture at the top of the financial ladder. The 6 largest banks, she noted, paid their CEOs more than $250 million in combined compensation last year. Those same banks distributed over $140 billion in dividends and stock buybacks to wealthy shareholders, a record-breaking transfer of wealth upward. The contrast was deliberate, and it was sharp. Warren invoked the memory of 2008, the financial collapse that shattered confidence and erased nearly $20 trillion in savings and retirement plans. 10 million families lost their homes. Unemployment surged. Retirement dreams dissolved. She reminded the room that Washington helped fuel that disaster by dismantling what she called common sense guardrails, rules designed to keep banks stable and accountable to the communities they serve. And when the crash came, she argued, Washington rushed to protect Wall Street. Executives walked away with golden parachutes. Families on Main Street faced consequences alone. That memory, Warren warned, is fading in the halls of power. But it has not faded for the families who lived through it. Her focus then turned to regulators. She named Michelle Bowman, now vice chair for supervision at the Federal Reserve, appointed during President Trump's first term. Warren argued that deregulation contributed to the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and other major institutions, some of the largest bank failures in American history. And instead of accountability, she said, there was promotion. From there, the argument widened. Capital rules, the financial cushions that require banks to use their own money when making risky decisions, are now under pressure. Stress testing, once seen as a critical safeguard after 2008, is being weakened. According to Warren, mega banks are reducing their capital reserves while increasing payouts to executives and shareholders. Banks, she said, prefer leverage. They prefer risk financed with other people's money. If the gamble succeeds, profits soar. If it fails, the public absorbs the shock. Regulators, she argued, have approved mergers, scaled back fair lending standards, and reduced staffing at oversight agencies by as much as 30%. Enforcement actions against some of the most powerful financial institutions in the country have been terminated. And as Warren put it, either major banks have suddenly stopped breaking the law, or those charged with oversight have simply stopped looking. Her conclusion was stark. Warning lights in the broader economy are flashing red. This hearing was not simply about tariffs, capital buffers, or regulatory policy. It was about priorities. It was about who the system protects first when pressure builds. It was about whether economic growth is measured in quarterly earnings reports or in the stability of families who rely on steady paychecks and affordable homes. Warren framed the issue as moral as much as financial. She questioned whether the lessons of 2008 have been learned or merely archived, whether deregulation is a path to prosperity or a rewind button on history. The debate she ignited is not confined to that hearing room. It echoes through every mortgage payment, every retirement account, every small business loan application. It asks whether economic policy is built on guardrails or on faith that markets will regulate themselves. Because history has shown that when guardrails disappear, consequences do not fall evenly. They fall hardest on those with the least insulation. The broader political context is clear. Economic inequality remains a defining tension in American life. Trust in institutions has eroded. And every shift in financial oversight carries ripple effects far beyond Wall Street trading floors. Whether one agrees with Warren's conclusions or not, the stakes she outlined are unmistakable. The structure of financial regulation shapes the trajectory of the American economy. It determines who bears risk, who absorbs loss, and who reaps reward. In moments like this, hearings become more than procedure. They become mirrors. They reflect competing visions of what fairness looks like in the world's largest economy. Is it growth at any cost? Or stability with accountability? Is it deregulation in pursuit of profit? Or restraint in pursuit of resilience? As the gavel fell and the chamber quieted, the words lingered. Wall Street first, American families last. The question now is not just what regulators will do next, but what voters will demand. Because the direction of an economy is never inevitable. It is chosen. And in a democracy, those choices belong to the people. If you believe that power should be questioned, that policy deserves scrutiny, and that the lessons of history must not be forgotten. Stay informed. Subscribe to Liberty Report USA. Support our work to expose the truth.